guys, so in today's video I'm going to review some Hum supplements for you all. This is a brand that you all have asked me in several videos to review, and so in today's video I'm going to review their Glow Sweet Glow and Hair Sweet Hair. These are gummies with benefits according to the label. I'll get into the science behind the different ingredients in terms of hair and skin. And first up though, you should know that these vitamins were sent to me for free from Hum through the Octoly platform in exchange for this review. I'm not being paid to review these. This is not a sponsored video. However, I did not pay for them, so you should know that up front. But yeah, getting into the review, just to cut to the chase, I actually don't recommend that you guys buy these and take them. But hopefully by the end of today's video, you'll kind of understand my reasoning as to why I don't recommend them. But for those of you who like a straight up yes, no answer, I don't think they're worth it. All right, first up, let's get into the Glow Sweet Glow. This is a supplement that claims to improve skin hydration and kind of give you a glow. It has vitamin C, 90 milligrams of vitamin C. Vitamin C is an important vitamin in our diet. We can't make it ourselves, so we have to get it from dietary sources. But it's not that hard to get in our diet. It's rich in most fruits and vegetables, have a ton of vitamin C. But it's an essential vitamin, and so what is the evidence for taking vitamin C for skin benefit? Honestly, not much, and in fact, very little. There was a study that evaluated the effects of ultraviolet radiation-induced free radical damage and oxidation in the skin in people taking supplemental vitamin C. This study looked at 20 Caucasian patients, who are volunteers, I should say, who first were treated on spots on their rear end with ultraviolet radiation, and after they were treated with the ultraviolet radiation, biopsies were taken from those sites and looked at under the microscope. In addition to biopsies from those sites that were treated with ultraviolet radiation, they also took biopsies from areas that were not treated with ultraviolet radiation as controls. So they looked at how these individuals' skin responded to ultraviolet radiation. Then the subjects took vitamin C, 500 milligrams for 8 weeks. And at the end of the 8 weeks, they repeated the UV radiation exposures on the buttocks and the biopsies. They did the whole thing over again. At the end of that study, they showed that taking vitamin C had no effect on the negative consequences of ultraviolet radiation exposure to the skin. So it didn't seem to make a difference. Then in 2007, there was a study conducted to assess the associations between nutrient intake and skin aging. And this study looked at 400 women who ranged in age from 40 to 74. And in this study, they found that women who had a higher dietary vitamin C intake had significantly lower likelihood of showing signs of age-related dry skin and a wrinkled appearance to their skin. But that was their dietary vitamin C, not supplementing with a pill. But in addition to vitamin C, this has vitamin E, 15 milligrams of vitamin E. What is vitamin E? It is a lipid-soluble, membrane-bound vitamin, and it has there are a few different forms of vitamin E, but its most active form is alpha tocopherol. And vitamin E is a really important antioxidant in our body. It is on the surface of cell membranes, and it protects the cells of our body from oxidative damage and degradation. It's called lipid peroxidation. Once the vitamin E is kind of used up and did its thing to help protect the cell surface, it can actually be regenerated to work again so long as vitamin C is present. So together they kind of function synergistically, if you will. And so with that being said, there have been a few studies looking at the combination of vitamin C and vitamin E supplementation for skin benefit. There was a double-blinded placebo-controlled study of 10 patients who compared taking 2 grams of vitamin C plus 1,000 international units of vitamin E versus placebo. And the patient's skin reaction before and after 8 days of treatment with this combination of vitamin C and vitamin E were assessed. to see how the skin responded to measures of ultraviolet radiation, as well as blood flow changes. And interestingly, those who took the combination vitamin C and vitamin E had an improvement in their skin response to ultraviolet radiation. So it suggests that the combination of vitamin C and vitamin E together may help the skin in terms of handling ultraviolet radiation damage. There's also a prospective randomized placebo-controlled trial that repeated these results. So another group did the same kind of a similar type of study and showed the same effects, that combining the two, vitamin C and vitamin E, improved outcomes of the skin in terms of UV radiation damage. But, that's all well and good in terms of the skin benefit. But these are really, really small studies in a very short period of time. So, how worth it is it? Hard to say for sure in the long term. And these are not cheap. Like, how long do you need to take these to sustain that type of benefit? Now, while vitamin C and vitamin E seem to be potentially helpful in these small studies for exerting some sort of photoprotective effect on the skin, I will point out that these supplements are not without the potential for harm. We have studies showing that high-dose vitamin C supplementation is actually associated with more oxidative damage. And importantly, vitamin E supplementation in several studies looking at people who smoked and took a vitamin E supplement, they had a higher risk of developing lung cancer. So taking antioxidants in supplement form at this point poses a theoretical risk of actually being more pro-cancer than anti-cancer. And that's a surprising result, because we know that people who eat diets rich in antioxidants, a lot of plant-based foods, fruits and vegetables, they actually have a lower cancer risk than those who do not. But it seems that if you supplement particularly with high doses, that you could actually tip the scale in the wrong direction, favoring cancer. So it suggests kind of a Goldilocks phenomenon of this is too much, this is too little. There's somewhere in between that's just right, and that's probably what you would get from your diet, not from a supplement. And the other ingredient in the Glow Sweet Glow Gummies is going to be hyaluronic acid. Hyaluronic acid, we do actually have several studies showing that oral supplementation with hyaluronic acid can definitely improve skin hydration. There was a double-blind placebo-controlled trial of people who suffered at baseline with chronically dry skin, and they took 240 milligrams per day of hyaluronic acid for 6 weeks, and at the end of the 6 weeks, their dry skin was significantly improved on the face as well as the whole body. Not only at the end of 6 weeks, but as early as 3 weeks, they showed improvement in skin hydration. They also had an improvement in skin moisture content, and they also have an improvement in skin smoothness on their upper arms and on their neck. Whereas the placebo group, not taking the hyaluronic acid, did not show these changes. And so that's 240 milligrams per day. These supplements, the Hum ones, the Glow Sweet Glow, have 120 milligrams. Is that enough? Well, there was another study that looked at 240 milligrams a day and 120 milligrams per day, and they showed that both doses do in fact portend benefit on skin hydration, and to a equal extent. So they're equally effective, and in this supplement you get the 120 milligrams, or they claim you have 120 milligrams of hyaluronic acid in there. So that is a dosage suggested by the studies to be effective. Hyaluronic acid is a very important part of the deeper layers of our skin. It holds on to water. It's really important for skin integrity, and it holds on to moisture in the skin. But importantly, with age, the amount of hyaluronic acid in our skin starts to decline, and that is why we can suffer from things like age-related dry skin. So there was actually a randomized, double-blind, placebo-controlled study of middle-aged women with dry skin. One group took 120 milligrams per day of hyaluronic acid, and the other group just took a placebo. And at the end of that study, those taking the hyaluronic acid at 120 milligrams per day had improvement in skin moisture content. So it suggests that taking oral hyaluronic acid can be beneficial for skin hydration. And interestingly, in these studies, that effect was extended out 2 weeks after stopping the hyaluronic acid, which isn't too surprising. You know, your skin turns over every 28 days. And so they were able to show that 2 weeks after stopping the hyaluronic acid supplements, the skin still showed some evidence of increased hydration. Now that's not going to be long-lived or indefinite. It won't last forever, but it does suggest that when you stop it, you do still have some retention of some of that benefit for a few weeks after. So hyaluronic acid is promising, but whether or not, to what extent it is absorbed, the optimal formulation, that has not really been established whatsoever. So in other words, the hyaluronic acid in this could all be gummed up, so to speak, within the context of the gummy and not really absorbable. We don't know how the bioavailability of the hyaluronic acid in this supplement compares to like a gel capsule or some other form. In addition to that, this also has amla. Amla is a nutraceutical rich in vitamin C. So I point that out because not only do you have vitamin C that was added to this, but you also have a botanic ingredient that's rich in vitamin C. So the hyaluronic acid data is interesting, it's compelling, from a clinical perspective. It's like, maybe people with eczema or really dry skin conditions could benefit from treatment with hyaluronic acid. These are all things that, we can get excited about, but we can't say, and we can't begin making recommendations about based on the small amount of data that we have. There's still so many questions that need to be answered about how this should be delivered, the right dose, and in which people. These are very small studies looking at people who already have chronically dry skin. Is this going to be beneficial for the general public or people who are otherwise have healthy skin barriers and no underlying skin disease? Is this going to be helpful, or what are the risks? So stay tuned. We just don't have that kind of data. So, I don't really think these are worth it. And, in my opinion, at the end of the day, you're better served eating, your fruits and veggies than plunking down, what did I say this was? $25, I think, for a 30-day supply. So that's Glow Sweet Glow. What about Hair Sweet Hair? This is a supplement that promises stronger, healthier hair. First of all, this has 5,000 micrograms of biotin. I have several videos on biotin. Biotin is something that in dermatology we've recommended for a variety of things like brittle nails and hair thinning, hair loss. But when we look really critically at the literature and the research to support this recommendation, it's frankly not super strong. Biotin has actually not been shown to be helpful for normal healthy hair or in individuals who have no underlying biotin deficiency. We also have some studies or some case reports looking at biotin supplementation for brittle nails showing it can be helpful. And then in terms of other hair conditions, which we have case reports, meaning in 1 or 2 people here and there scattered throughout the medical literature, we have case reports showing that biotin supplementation seem to be helpful in improving children's hair who suffered from hair conditions like something called uncombable hair syndrome, as well as telogen effluvium. But here's the thing, those were case reports, and those are conditions that we know already get better on their own oftentimes. So without a placebo or a larger group, you really can't say that it was the biotin that improved those children's hair conditions. And those are just 30 cases, showing improvement in these various hair conditions that generally otherwise get better. And likewise, in terms of nails, the effect of biotin supplementation for otherwise healthy normal nails is unknown. There are specific diseases of the nail for which biotin seems to be helpful. Prior studies suggest, again, like I said, improvement in brittle nails, triangular worn downward nails, and something called habit tick deformity, which happens to the nail plate. People have a bad habit sometimes of rubbing their nail, like when they get nervous or anxious, and it actually can create this groove within the nail. And it takes a long time for that to grow out once you stop rubbing the fingernail. And biotin supplementation might be helpful for that in these case reports. But it's a big might, and if you don't have these nail diseases and you're just unhappy with the look of your nails, or maybe you have some age-related dryness of the nails, it's unlikely that taking a biotin supplement is going to do anything. But there is a risk to taking biotin supplementation that we're now more familiar with, and that is biotin supplements can interfere with the results of different lab tests. such as thyroid function, and something called troponin. Troponin is a lab test that helps to diagnose a heart attack. And there are case reports of people whose heart attack was misdiagnosed and missed because of their biotin supplementation. So it's not something to just take willy-nilly. I mean, you could wind up in the emergency room with chest pain, and because of these supplements, which probably don't even help your hair or skin, your heart attack could be missed. And that's really a dangerous outcome. Personally, I used to take biotin all the time, and anecdotally, I felt like it improved my nails. But once I started learning about how it interferes with these lab tests, I stopped taking it, and I no longer take it. And I'm much more conservative about recommending it than I used to be. But yeah, it's not without the potential for risk and potential for harm. Also, a lot of people report, anecdotally at least, that when they take biotin supplements, their acne gets worse. Now, we don't have large studies confirming or refuting that, but we definitely hear it from enough people that it seems to be something that there is an association going on there. In addition to the biotin, though, these also have vitamin B12. Vitamin B12 supplements have been associated with acne flares. So the combination of the biotin, which may trigger acne, and B12, which we know can trigger acne, might trigger your acne, which you're not going to like. And in addition to that risk of the acne with the B12, I also came across studies showing that long-term use of high-dose vitamin B12 as well as vitamin B6, again in smokers, actually increased their risk of lung cancer. As a matter of fact, smokers who took high doses of vitamin B12 had a 3-fold increased risk in lung cancer in comparison to those who did not. So, even though these vitamins are important in our diet and for our health, taking them as supplements may actually be dangerous. You may say, well, Dr. Dray, don't you take a vitamin B12 supplement? Yes, because I follow a vegan diet and I have no B12 source in my diet. But for me, I do have to be really careful that I'm not over supplementing. And so, I point that out here because you can innocently be taking these and not realize that there's B12 in there, and you may already be taking a multivitamin and a B12 supplement and really, taking too much. In addition to the biotin and B12 in this, there's also zinc. There was some thought at some point and some interest in supplemental zinc for both acne as well as hidradenitis suppurativa. But there have been some studies suggesting that supplementation with zinc can help those conditions, but other studies don't really support it either, so it's pretty inconclusive at this point, and it's not something that is recommended as standard of care. And those are specific skin conditions, so whether or not, taking a zinc supplement is indicated for everyone or going to be helpful, who knows? So there's that. And this also has folic acid. Now, folic acid is something that for women who are contemplating pregnancy, childbearing age, and thinking of becoming pregnant, definitely need to supplement with folic acid. We know that because it lowers the risk of neural tube defects in the baby. But for taking it for the purposes of trying to benefit your hair, it's not gonna do anything. So there's that. So it's kind of in there. All right, so that's the science behind the ingredients in these supplements. I don't recommend that you guys go out and buy them or take them. As I said, there's very limited evidence that these ingredients really do anything, and there's some evidence that they can be harmful. Supplements, dietary supplements, are not regulated by the FDA for safety or efficacy, and so they don't have to demonstrate that their formulations are effective, that their formulations are such that they're actually something that is going to be taken up properly. So yeah, very limited amount of data showing that these ingredients are helpful, potential risks, and honestly, they're expensive, and you can get most of these beneficial ingredients from eating your fruits and vegetables. In fact, it's probably going to be a more efficient and safer way to do it. I mean, that's what all the available data suggests at this point, is that people who eat diets that include lots of fruits and vegetables have a lower risk of cancer. We don't see that with the supplements. So I don't think you need to, nor should you, plunk down a bunch of money on what, let's face it, is glorified candy. Which brings me to my last point. These, in my opinion, are nothing more than expensive candy. And that being said, they taste pretty darn good, which is kind of scary. You know, I tried out a few of them. I didn't do the full 30 days of this, but I have tried them and they taste good. And that's kind of scary, you know. This is something that you may want to snack on a few more than just the recommended 2. So I would love it if Hum would just stop making supplements and just make candy, vegan candy. I mean, they'd have a great gummy candy here that, you know, enough people follow a plant-based diet or avoid gelatin. I think that they would have no issue with their bottom line. They could sell vegan candy. Just leave out all the supplements, like supplemental ingredients, the vitamins and whatnot, and just make candy. They have 2 grams of sugar per serving, which isn't a ton of sugar, but it is added sugar, and added sugar in the diet is associated with advanced glycation end products, which contribute to wrinkle formation, and high glycemic foods, you know, drive inflammatory processes in the body. So it just seems counterproductive to consume additional added sugar to attempt to help your hair, skin, and nails with all of these like hand-wavy other ingredients going alongside it. So, you know, I think that's kind of notable that at the end of the day, in my opinion, they're really expensive candies. Yeah, it's kind of dangerous that they taste so good. You know, if you have a young child, they might get into these. Hey, I might get into them. I found myself, I tried them, you know, I didn't take the full 30 days or whatever. I just tried them to taste them and I was like, these are really tasty. So hopefully you can see why I don't recommend these. You know, first of all, they're candy. The added sugar plus the B12 and the biotin and the hair ones can increase your risk of an acne flare, and that's not what you want when you're trying to take a supplement to improve your skin and hair. You don't want your acne to be flaring. The other reason, you know, if you're a smoker and you take too many of these, might increase your risk of lung cancer over just smoking, and could interfere with blood work, blood tests that are needed to rule out a heart attack. And lastly, you know, I don't recommend them because a lot of the benefits from these ingredients can be obtained through dietary sources, and you know, I think that's a better way to get these. So yeah, I hope you guys enjoyed this video. Stay tuned. I'm going to be reviewing for you all the Hum Mighty Night supplements in a while, and as a matter of fact, I'm going to film the video now. This is a supplement that has ceramides in it. You all have asked me about taking ceramides by mouth for skin benefit, so I'm going to review these for you in a while. But if you like this video, give it a thumbs up, share it with your friends, and as always, don't forget, sunscreen and subscribe. I'll talk to you guys tomorrow. Bye.